You know, I always talk about this when the stock market goes down, but I never talk about it when the stock market goes up. So I should take a second and remind you. Have you ever noticed that the news people all report on the stock market only when it goes down? Whoa! Remember? That's how the news report sounds. You ever heard that? Did you ever hear the news report where the stock market went up 20%? You would have made 20% on your money if it was invested last year. The S&P 500 closed up 19.4%. That means all of my mutual funds, which outperform the S&P, I haven't gotten the details in on mine yet, but they generally outperform the S&P, and they have for 40, 30, 20, and 10-year track records. So I suppose last year they outperformed the S&P, and so that means I made over 20% on my money last year. Did you hear anybody reporting that? Did you hear ABC? Did you hear Good Morning America do a whole special on the stock market went up almost 20% last year? You know how long it's been since that happened? A long time. Went up almost 20%. The Dow Jones is over 25,000 right now. 25,000. Those, you know, and this just tells you how biased the news media is, okay? I'm not endorsing Donald Trump, but they're so scared that he might get credit for something. I'm not sure it's due to him. I wouldn't give him credit for it. But they're so scared that the fact that the freaking economy is booming. I mean, unemployment rate is almost nothing in most states right now. In the state of Tennessee, our unemployment rate is under 3%. That means if you're breathing at least twice a minute, you have a job. I mean, it's nuts. You know, I mean, there's no way, you know, it's incredible. And the Dow is over 25,000, and the stock market's up 19.4% last year, the S&P, for 2017. So, but I mean, they're scared to death that they're going to give Trump credit for that by just admitting that it actually occurred. And so have you heard any of them reporting it? CNN, ABC, NBC, CBS, even Fox. Have you heard a single news report about the booming stock market? Now, I can assure you of this, that your entire future would have ended, the world would have melted down, and the world would have come to an end had the stock market dropped 20%. They would have been leading the news with a line that sounded like a beagle chasing a rabbit every night. It would have sounded like a scalded dog, like somebody threw hot water on a dog in the middle of a cold weather. They would have been whining and screaming and flopping around. And you hadn't heard one single report. Not one, have you? Not one. You haven't heard a single report on the news. You haven't read it in your local newspaper, all now owned by Gannett, thank you very much. Some version of USA Today in your hometown now. If your hometown newspaper website does not look just like USA Today's website, you have a newspaper that is not owned by Gannett, but there's very few of them left. An extreme left wing, yes. Scared to death to say Trump did anything right? You bet. And I'm not accusing Trump of this. I'm not saying he did this, okay? Not at all. I'm not giving him credit either. But they're so afraid that there might be some political capital to the economy booming that they have done zero reporting on it. Plus, it's just abhorrent to them to report on anything that's positive. If it bleeds, it leads, baby. The car wrecks, the murders, the death of the American dream. That's what leads on the nightly news. You're not seeing one of them. You haven't seen a single news article or report unless you're reading some kind of geeky, nerdy financial journals like I might read, but you haven't seen it anywhere else. The Dow Jones the S&P 500 closed up almost 20% last year. It's what you made on your 401k, by the way, if you've invested like we taught you to invest. Good growth stock mutual funds, growth and income, aggressive growth and international. That's what you made on your money. You just made that on your money. Did anybody tell you? No, if you opened up your statement when you get it, you'll probably get it in March, and it'll reflect back on the closing numbers for 17. You're going to see what happened in 17. But now that you're curious, because I brought it up, you can jump online and probably have a little app on your phone with that comes free with your phone with the stock market stuff on it. And you just push that little app and it'll pop up and show you what's going on. Then push on the little S&P and it'll give you the whole details. It didn't take me but about 30 seconds to figure this out at the commercial break. I did detailed research for the show today. Not. Okay? Seriously. Nobody is reporting on this. That ought to give you pause about what you're allowing these people to come into your living room and say to you every night. You're allowing them to form some of your ideas and opinions with what you read and what you watch. And they're so irresponsible and so scared of political capital going one way or the other, to the left or the right, that they are so freaking biased, and they're biased against good news, that none of them have reported that some of you made the most money you've ever made in your entire working lives last year on your 401k. If you are 40 years old, you had the best year in your working lifetime last year in your 401k, and not one news outlet told you that. That ought to scare you a little bit about the stuff you're allowing into your living room.